Welcome to In Their Shoes by Shanakia. I'm Gaff.
And I'm Bex. We're here to help people connect through the power of shared storytelling.
In this podcast, we invite two people to tell a story about their life. Instead of reading their own story, they'll swap and they'll read each other's as if it was their own.
After both stories are finished, we will dive into the real questions to be asked, feelings that came up, and more moments that have maybe never been shared before.
Come with us as we experience walking in each other's shoes and immersing ourselves in each other's stories. This episode is brought to you by Mubi, a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from around the globe. From iconic directors to emerging auteurs, there is always something new to discover.
With Mubi, each and every film is hand-selected so you can explore incredible movies, streaming anytime, anywhere.
Now streaming on Mubi in the UK and Ireland, September Says, a debut feature film from the emerging auteur Ariane Labed, who brings her feminist vision to feature filmmaking. The film premiered at the 2024 Cannes Film Festival and is based on the acclaimed novel Sisters by Daisy Johnson, the youngest author ever shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize.
A uniquely dark and eerie portrait of girlhood, adolescence and femininity from a distinct new cinematic voice. Sisters, September and July, share an intense bond, speaking in a secret language and keeping the outside world at a distance. After September is suspended from school, their mother brings them to a remote house on the Irish coast, where July begins to resist her sister's increasingly sadistic control.
Yeah, like what a take on friendship. It's such a... it's an amazing film. It's really well done. But it's just so creepy. And it also does highlight the danger of friendships as well. And obviously we're meant to be exploring this theme in kind of a positive light, but it's also good to have a holistic approach to the theme of friendship. There's so many friendships, particularly when you're a kid, that oftentimes aren't actually serving you positively.
There's always like a weird control dynamic, I think, when you're a kid. There's like a
Massively.
inbuilt competitiveness or...
control.
Yeah.
And it can obviously happen with your siblings in the case of these two characters. I'm 5 years younger than my sister, closest in age to me, so I don't think I really experienced that. But I definitely had friendships from my childhood that were like, I was just a sheep and I'd do anything they told me to. And you jump, I jump kind of mentality.
Well, me and my twin...
Yeah,
like,
it must be relatable to you, right?
Yeah, and we had like the same friends, which then made it hard because it's like, you know, they see you almost as when you're a child as the same person, so you're like constantly fighting for that friendship. We ended up having different sets of friends so that we could have space, but like this is why this film's really interesting, because the sisters seem to be like their only friends.
Yeah,
and that's where it gets too
claustrophobic.
Yeah, too intense, right?
Yeah.
And dark.
No, it's a good film. I mean, it's definitely, if you're into horror, this is definitely worth watching. But also, I do like a horror movie where you really do not expect it to be as horror as it is. Like, it's a very idyllic setting. It's quite beautifully shot.
On the Irish coast. I mean, there's so many films around Ireland right now. So don't make friends with little girls on the coast of Ireland. That's all I'll say.
Don't, unless you are also a little girl. But then also do not let them control you.
And to stream the best of cinema, you can try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/Shanakia.
That's mubi.com/SEANCHOICHE for a whole month of great cinema for free. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hello there.
Welcome.
Thanks.
So you're from West Cork.
I am from East Cork.
East Cork?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm from
West Cork.
You're from West Cork.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's West Cork really.
Where in each part of the county?
So I'm from a place called Timoleague, which is really close to Clonakilty. Do you know Timoleague?
I go out to the Leap quite a lot.
Oh,
Because we run Shanakia and Connolly's of Leap.
oh my god,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Place.
Yeah, it's such a great
The
spot.
best
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Faoileann Cunningham is a London-based Irish actor from Cork. She is a fluent Gaelic speaker, which is what we call a Gaeilgeoir, and an accomplished singer. Faoileann trained at RADA on the 3-year BA acting programme. Her most recent credits include the role of Rill in The Witcher: Blood Origin on Netflix,
Cormloth in Robert Eggers' feature The Northman, and performing Karen Cogan's monologue Turkey Sausage Roll for Manchester's Homes Online Festival of New Work in the summer of 2020. On stage, she most recently played the roles of Sylvia and Georgette in Amelie, directed by Michael Fentiman at The Other Place on the West End, following a tour across the UK and Ireland. Other recent credits include Scotty's, directed by Maureen Kelly for Theatre Galore, Ulysses, directed by Graham McLaren for the Abbey Theatre, Ireland's National Theatre, and the role of Reza in Once, directed by John Tiffany with the script by Enda Walsh. Faoileann can currently be seen starring as Sister Jen in the HBO Max series Dune Prophecy.
So we were just talking previously about the meaning of your name, which is quite, I want to bring that up because I thought that was quite amazing.
Yeah.
So it's Faoileann.
It's Faoileann, yeah.
Beautiful name.
Thank you.
And it's Gaelic for?
So it's old Irish. So my dad's from Waterford. So it's Daisha Irish, which is like, the like really old stuff. Yeah, it's epic. Actually, when you think about it. But it, I mean, I was told for my whole life it meant gentle lady, which was a bit gross. And I do not identify as that. But yeah, it also means little wolf, which I love.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
Much more affinity with.
Did the meaning change over time?
Yeah, I definitely, when I got into like my late teens, I was kind of like sick of like at every funeral, birth and marriage, like, you know, old women coming up to me being like, oh, gentle lady. And I was like, you know, kind of railing against it. Like my mum holding me back being like, don't.
Yeah. When did you find out that it was Little Wolf?
I remember I was working on a project with Gaelgors, like people from the actual Gaeltacht, and they were like, oh, do you know that like Lynn means small? And I was like, I had no idea, because I was basically bullied in school being called like seagull all the time and all this. So I was just kind of like, don't talk to me about the meaning of my name, I hate it. And then they were like, oh, I think it actually means little wolf. And they were right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Clara Harte is an actor, writer and singer from Cork, Ireland, and a Gaiety School of Acting graduate. She was nominated for the Bingham Ray New Talent Award for her lead role in Who We Love, which earned 6 IFTA nominations. Screen credits include I'm Yours by RTE, Mixtape, Red Election, Into the Badlands and Harry Wild. She's also the creator and star of Foxglove, an award-winning bilingual short that screened internationally and aired on RTE and Aer Lingus. I'd love to just get into your stories, because I know you've both put down different journeys that you've had around friendship. So I think we're going to start with...
Faoilann's going to... Or sorry, Clara, you're going to read Faoilann's story first.
Awesome. Yeah.
Exciting. Define friendship. The dictionary says friendship is a state of enduring affection, esteem, intimacy and trust between two people. True, but to me friendship is also a rare and extraordinary miracle, a precious gift that I have been so lucky to receive. The story I'm going to tell today epitomizes the cosmic mystery of fate I consider directly responsible for my friendships. The wonder of how two people land in the same lifetime at the exact right moment to encounter one another and become friends. When I was a teenager, I had a growing interest in performance. My mum, being the legend that she is, supported me and braved the brigade of Cork City pantomimes, looking for their advice on how to further my learning. They told her of a performing summer camp in the city where the serious kids went, filling a whole month of the summer with singing and dancing and acting at the Firkin Crane Theatre. I was terrified to go alone, but the instinct that there might be something new and exciting to be learnt there spurred me on. I was desperate to avoid another summer amusing myself at home, so I went. Day 1 was overwhelming. Words like monologue, belting, commercial, split leap and headshot were thrown around at a dizzying rate. Words I'd never heard before. I was so far behind these staggeringly self-assured kids, it seemed. Out of place in my matching maroon trackie from the co-op and exhausted from the buzz of the high-octane Sally Hansen vapours, I left on day 1 feeling deflated. They all seemed to know each other from before. My secret hope of making some kindred friends here felt further off than ever. Day 2, horrifically, featured lots of dancing. Something I'd only ever done in the style you could vaguely call hip-hop. The comfort of the morning's looser throwing of shapes took a sharp turn after lunch. ballet. The teacher, black hair slicked back like a crow, beelined into the studio. No instructions. None were given. But somehow the class began. People took their places as if they'd been in this exact group with this exact teacher before. Somehow they all knew the choreography and began to move in unison under her scrupulous eye. I stood at the back, seemingly invisible to the woman, humiliated and disoriented by the scene. Next, corner work, she shrieked. As if that meant something. The group rapidly bolted to one corner of the room. What ensued was a harsh conveyor belt, demonstrating to be decimated. Your technique, split leap, chassé, pas de bourrée. The crow shrieked her orders. In pairs of two, they obeyed, springing and leaping across the room. My heart hammered in my ears. This woman had quite literally not even looked at me. Red raw anxiety screamed from my chest. Did I even exist? Was this a nightmare? Had I blacked out and landed in a leaping psychosis? The entire group had gone. It was just me left, alone. But then I saw her. Standing to my left, glorious, gigantic. Brushed silver hoop earrings, flared jeans, thick black eyeliner, wearing a tiny flamboyant scarf around her neck. A partner, another alien to this insipid room. She flashed me her brilliant smile, laughed loudly, shrugged, fuck it, and together we leapt, once, twice, thrice, across to the other corner of the room. God only knows what we looked like. A pair of stumbling donkeys amongst this slick sorority of stallions. But she and I had done it, together. Reaching the other side, we fell to the floor laughing. The lightness with which she dealt with it all lifted me from the depths of my shame. Clara, she said, out of breath, extending her arms towards me and enveloping me in a reassuring cuddle. The smooth, cool tone of her West Cork lilt wafted over me. I was transformed by her calm. She was unfazed, but furious. "This is fucking ridiculous," she exclaimed. "She's basically just teaching her regular ballet class." And then to the teacher, "We've never done this before, you know. You're going to have to teach us something." For the rest of that chorus, she was my idol. She had the most immense, soulful singing voice, it turned out, and acted with electric intensity. I was in awe of her striking dress sense and inspired by the audacious disregard she had for the social pecking order of the camp and its crew. Her bravery to take up space and to create from her unique expression of self was something I had never seen before in someone my own age. We remained for the rest of the camp at the very back of ballet, but elsewhere we found our way forward. The course came to an end, and so sadly did our friendship. On the last day, we hugged goodbye. Clara lived in the wilds of West Cork, and from what she'd told me, she, like everyone else it seemed, had a vibrant life of friends and fun that filled her days down there. The notion I'd even suggest staying friends with someone so magnificent felt ridiculous. What paltry presents would I offer to her life? I resigned myself to the belief that I should feel lucky to have had her friendship for 3 whole weeks, but she would move on, and I would just have to too. Moving at 18 to train in London, what I wouldn't have given to have had a friend like Clara with me. Once again, I felt behind, socially. The rules were completely different. Deciphering the friendship code in London felt impossible. My clothes were all wrong. These kids drank wine, yock, not naggins. I felt naive and provincial. Generously home friends visited often, but the strangeness of drama school was hard to convey. Belonging neither here or at home now birthed a special brand of loneliness. Graduated from drama school, and years later, I found myself working on a UK tour of a full-out, full-on musical. Imagine, matching maroon tracksuit. Me. One Saturday night, I returned late from some random part of England to the comfort of my flat in South London. As was usual, I'd sublet my room while travelling, but one of the girls was away, so I could spend the weekend at home in her bed. Exhausted from the grueling 9 shows a week schedule and dying to get under a duvet and hide there for all of the 24 hours I had off, I trudged in the front door, up the stairs, and couldn't believe my eyes. There she was, the Queen of West Cork, my summer camp idol. Eyeliner still thick, wearing the same tiny flamboyant scarf, unbelievably. Clara Harte, standing smack bang in the middle of my home. What? We shrieked. She had just moved to London, and somehow, in a city of over 8 million people, fate had brought her to my door. Not only into my home, but to sublet my room. We talked all night, buzzing from the fantastical coincidence. 10 years had passed since our summer camp connection. We talked and talked, uncovering more and more common ground. The leaps we took together in ballet seemed tiny now in comparison to those we had taken alone since. Arriving here now, 2 passionate professional actors. Instantly it was clear. Braving this treacherous business and the wiles of life, we would no longer be alone. There is no concise way to tell the rest of our story. That night, though, the foundations were laid. The universe had chosen to plant us for a second time on this crazy earth together. Silence was that night and has ever since been rare between us. Extensions of each other's hearts and brains, trusted partners in life, housing a friendship between us, brimming with love and compassion, insulated by trust and support, and warmed by spectacular joy and mutual adoration. I don't feel I have the words to do justice to how much Clara's friendship or how much she as a human means to me. While thinking about writing this story, I did, however, find this poem tucked into my notes, an outpouring written in direct response to a day spent in her company. She is a wonder, a shimmering depth of heart, swathed in the warmest honeyed sunlight, paddling through it all, inch by inch, illuminating as she goes, with such softness, everything in her path. She is wondrous, golden, a beacon. She is home of so many, meticulously carving her own within. One thing is definite. Clara Harte is the definition of friendship to me.
Oh my God. That was
Very moving.
My brother was like, I read it to him and he was like, are you best man at a wedding?
It's like devotion.
Yeah,
Oh my
kill
God.
2 birds with 1 stone there if you end up being
Yeah, exactly.
best mates another way.
yeah. It's like,
You got
job
ready
done.
to go.
Wow. I want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I do too.
I know.
That's a good time.
What a beautiful ode
Oh my
to
God.
you as a person and your friendship. But how did it feel for you to read that?
It was
Obviously, yeah.
extremely moving. It's kind of interesting to hear yourself talked about that way when it was so not something you felt of yourself, but that someone else is seeing that in you and loving you for it, and being a beacon to anyone is not something. Well, not something that I take lightly, but also not something that I would kind of conceive myself as. Mm-hmm. And I think Faoileann has an amazing way of like mirroring people at their in a way that like reflects what she sees as their brilliance. And I've always felt that, and like that was just it's wild to think of to hear yourself reflected. I don't think it's often that you get that reflection, and I'm a bit shook.
Well, like, can we just talk about the sheer serendipity of the fact that you
Crazy.
were subletting Faoilann's room?
Bonkers.
Like
Sorry, that's crazy. How did that happen?
Someone I think was because it was like one of these situations whereby like you you might like rent the room sometimes for a long time, or sometimes it might just be for a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think someone took my room.
Well, what happened was so there was actually 2 houses of Irish actors
mad,
on our road. So
Right.
there was like four in each house. So it was like rotating doors of all of those. But I had just moved to London, and I was like staying in like a box room in a family friend's like for like a month, and I was like, okay, I have to move somewhere. I, again, serendipitously went for dinner with a few of my friends who were like living in the house as well, and then they said that there was a room free for a couple of months if you want to like come down. And I was like, please, yes, take me in the door.
And you had
then,
no idea. Did you have any idea that it was Faoilann's?
No.
That's amazing.
Mad.
That is
Crazy.
Mad.
That is the best
I
story
know.
of a friendship. Like,
And it
We quite literally, I
Such a
remember we sat
coincidence.
on the floor, we were both skint,
Yeah.
and we ate like a box of Special K. Do you remember that? We both had
You,
these
like, whipped
matching,
out the
the puffer
cereal,
I'm wearing
yeah,
today,
yeah.
we both had these big matching green
Yeah.
coats, like no heating was on.
Yeah, it was like
We were
frozen.
sitting there like shoveling Special K into our mouth.
But it was so late. I remember that night we stayed up until like, whatever time, like 4 a.m. or something. And I just remember it was kind of like this alive moment, because I was like, and when I was coming in, I was like, I'm tired in bed. And then like, just like that, like erupted.
I think we were both like I think we both have a tendency sometimes to like overthink social dynamics as well.
I get
And we
so
get
anxious
we
about
get
social-
anxious and
yeah.
exhausted. And I think I had come off a tour, was still on it. That was like amazing people, but like Jesus Christ, if you spend enough time with people and you're in a show
draining.
and you're traveling and blah, blah, blah. And you like had just moved from Dublin and was very full of needing to like just have some space. And the two of us, I think, I remember sitting in Shauna's bed and being like, oh my God, like how the hell have we both arrived at actually very similar needs for being like, that sounds painful.
how do you feel about like the evolution of your friendship, and you know how that continues to go when you look back on meeting when you were kids?
Well, I think a big thing, even in the last 6 years, is how much we've changed and grown together. And, you know, in the in-between time, in those like 10 years that we didn't see each other, that how much we would have grown and changed in that time. So, like, I think it's just remarkable to see each other and have that check-in point as well. I think that's such an amazing thing of friendship, that you kind of, you know who you are with this person, but then you're kind of like changing, who you are is changing and morphing, and you're like, am I the same with this person? And often you are.
Yeah.
Like that is like the safe place and the soft place to land.
My friend Danny wanted to be a priest when he was a child, but somehow instead he ended up in drama school. Turns out he was all performance and no penance. Whether by luck or by fate, we ended up in the same year, and he was my saving grace, and I would like to think that in some ways I was his too. We often attested our quick bond to our Corkonian familiarity, but only because the depth of our connection was quite inexplicable and profound, and to try and explain it in any other terms too confounding for our then teenage brains. We were living together and in our second year of a very rigorous, serious actor training. And we were jaded. Barely finished our teenage years, feeling denied our right to freedom and fun and abandon. We decided something serious needed to be done about this. A figari soon materialised into a plan. A trip. Anywhere. Anywhere within our less than reasonable budget, but anywhere nonetheless. We had to see the world, travel, explore, dare. So, one March morning, as we finished our respective breakfasts, we booked our cheapest chips Ryanair flight to Amsterdam. The world had never felt so possible. But it wasn't long after landing off our flight that we had multiple lessons taught to us at once. There's a reason why cheap flights are cheap, and Eindhoven is not, in fact, in Amsterdam. 2 tulips. We couldn't believe the injustice, the cheek. Panicked, we had to make a plan. We couldn't afford a direct train to Amsterdam. Danny decided it was time to phone a friend, Sander, a Dutch student Danny had met the year previous while living in a foreign student house in Dublin. He lived in Rotterdam, which would apparently make our route cheaper to stop in. We gladly accepted the offer of a floor for the night. We arrived in Rotterdam late that night. Sander had failed to mention that he was in a fraternity, a phrase I had only seen and heard of in an American movie like Legally Blonde. And we were escorted back to his frat house with the frat boys and the beer and the flags and underwear and piled up dishes and, of course, a pool table. Danny and I were like two dazzled deer amongst the bears. That night, sleeping in the unwashed sheets of a 20s uni boy's bed and poor Danny on a mattress on the floor beside me, we drifted off. And out of the quiet, I heard a small, soft whisper, "Sorry, Clara." The relief washed over us when we arrived at Amsterdam Central the next day, finally. We marvelled at the streets, shrieked at the chaos of the trams and the bikes, not knowing our place amongst them. God, it's treacherous. I can never tell where they're coming from. After many leaps and loops and missed turns, we arrived at our hostel, booked in and found our bunk. Danny bottom, myself up top. As we got settled, a large, hairy solar traveller, Dawid, came to join our dorm room. He said we should hang, and Danny and I, in our eagerness to please, both said, slightly too loud and slightly too high-pitched, "Of course!" As we scuttled off down the hallway, Danny whispered, "He definitely knows where to buy weed." In our innocence, neither of us had any experience with smoking weed, and this innocence was a cause of growing concern of a life unlived for Danny. We wandered, and it was nice, but tinged by that small but gnawing feeling of, is this it? That often comes to greet high expectations. That evening, we made our way to the Bulldog Cafe, and it wasn't long before we were consumed in a cloud of coughing and smoke. More coughing than smoke. We tried, we persevered, one inhale then another, but all it caused was more plumes, more violent coughing that was giving us away. We weren't up to it. Our mission had failed. Our naive and squeaky clean lungs rejected our desire to grow up. We decided a space cake was our next option. We ate the dry muffin and sat and waited and waited and waited. And after an hour, we decided we had been scammed, taken for a hike, sold the commercial tourist stuff, and that we were immune. In a fit of disgust, we moved on and found another cafe. This one seemed to be the real deal. There were locals here. We guzzled down a brownie, which we both concluded was very delicious. Danny, ever ingratiating, went so far as to give compliments to the old lady behind the counter. And then we set off. It was a Tuesday night and it was getting late and our options were limited. But eventually we came to a bar and took up residence there for the evening. It was Tuesday karaoke and we were getting the grandest display of local and touristic talent Amsterdam had to offer. We were fed up. We had spent the evening chasing the thing that we thought we were missing in our lives. It wasn't about weed. It was what it represented. Free-spirited, rebellious youth. Instead, we just felt denied at the doors of heaven of something we felt the right to know and to feel. We started the night fervently checking in with each other with a, "Do you feel anything?" or "Why isn't it working?" "Oh, wait. Oh, no, never mind." But that had long stopped. We were defeated. Our quest had failed. And then Danny piped up. "Clara, she's been singing that song for hours. What's going on?" And suddenly we couldn't stop laughing. The song being murdered by a female on the bar counter was My Humps by the Black Eyed Peas. And I had to agree with Barry. She was on a loop. An endless loop of my humps, my humps, my humps, my humps. And like a tidal wave that came from nowhere, from nothingness. We were like two hyenas, bent over, tears flooding our eyes, unable to stop, unable to speak. A force having taken over our funny bones with an unrelenting tickle. To this day, I have never laughed so hard as in that bar with the soundtrack of Fergie's 2005 banger. The bar closed and we were out onto the street, clutching our bellies and still vibrating with our newfound glee. Next stop, McDonald's, the only place we could find open after midnight on Tuesday night in Amsterdam. We sat on the windowsill, watching the world go by, big, silly smiles on our faces. In our bliss, we had missed how the energy of the room changed. "Danny," I whispered, "something's going on." Danny, midway through a Big Mac, looked up at me with his big brown eyes. "Let's go," I said. We made our exit. but a big burly man blocked our path. He flashed a badge. He wanted to know what we had seen, what had happened. Nothing, mister, and that was the truth. My spidey senses kicked in. I told Danny to walk ahead while I pretended to momentarily comply with this stranger. Then, when I sensed Danny's distance, I shouted, "Go!" and we both took off like hares. We ran for what felt like an eternity, huffing and puffing around the darkened streets. A neon light up ahead caught our attention and lured us like helpless moths. We opened the door of the place, panting and bent over, this time with stitches. An old man, barely raising an eyebrow at our entry, was behind the counter. Did he know we were fugitives on the run? Did he know we had a McDonald's mob after us? I mean, we were pretty unassuming criminals. He sat us down and served us hummus and bread and 2 Cokes. And an hour later, he served it again. Though we protested that we couldn't afford it, he insisted that we didn't need to pay. And we sat there. Danny dozed as Danny was prone to do, and we broke bread and we dipped, all the while eyeing the window at the front of the shop for the burly men with the badges. But they never came. We were in the clear. Our pursuers had been outrun. Somewhere around the hour of 2 a.m. we decided. Danny and I tentatively scuttled back into the streets of the city asleep, avoiding the glow of the streetlights, and quickly, safely arrived at our hostel. The relief. And still, even still, we couldn't help but giggle. We shuttled into our respective bunks amidst the earth-shattering snores of our roomie. Reeling but wrecked from the action, we drifted off, and I heard the murmur again of, "Sorry, Clara," to which I would have replied, "What are you apologising for?" Needless to say, we didn't go into our final day with much gusto. The tone set was more subdued, less excited, panting puppies and more donkeys pulling a heavy cart. And what was in it, we couldn't quite understand. Something had changed. That evening, while wandering through the red light district, another obligatory pit stop in our social awakening, our wide eyes scanned from window to window with the occasional invitation extended to Danny, in which instances he clung to me as his beard, his apology for refusing the kind gesture, a cycle that would continue over the next years while he discovered and made hard-earned peace with his own sexuality. We landed at the canal and just sat silent, looking at the dark water and lights reflected on it. "Honestly, Clara, you saved me last night. I don't know why I was such a dope." And I said, "You're not a dope." And I couldn't quite find the words for what I wanted to say next, because there was no way to summarise the ways in which Danny had saved me in the brief 2 years we had known each other. How the power of our friendship and his love had picked me up and dusted me off countless times, and had lifted me out of despair and hopelessness. That it was because of him that I could at least pretend to be brave, because I knew he would always have my back. We had a secret language that no one else could understand, and any room he was in was home. He had taught me true friendship and given me hope, and I was capable of being loved. And I'd run through any fire or take on any burly Dutch bozo to protect that, to protect my precious friend. But I couldn't say any of that. So I just hugged him and I said, "It's grand." But I know he knew. I know we both always know. We walked back to our hostel that evening and tucked in for an early night ahead of our Dublin via Eindhoven return trip that awaited the next morning. We came to Amsterdam to find a thing we thought we were missing, but it turns out the thing wasn't all that great, and what we had already was pretty damn good. As we drifted off, I heard Danny whisper, not an apology tonight, but a tune. "My humps, my humps, my humps, my humps." And we both giggled our way to sleep.
Bravo.
Epic story.
Thank you so much for reading that. I mean, it's so funny as well, because when we read the story on Amsterdam, we were like, "Oh, I've just moved from Amsterdam after being there for 9 years.
Yeah.
We met there."
Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of friendships were sparked
Informed,
in
I
that
feel
space.
like it's an amazing city.
Yeah.
I haven't been there since
Have you not? That's your okay.
my only experience, which was like a fly in, fly out.
You and Danny to go
But
back.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love, and it's something I've only noticed listening to you read this again, because I'd read the story a few days ago before coming into the studio. I really love the way the two separate nights, the first night what he whispered to you was an apology, and the second night what he whispered to you was the My Home song. It just kind of shows how even he mentally probably transitioned throughout the weekend in your company.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite cute that like that was what you kind of remember, the two nights going to bed and the differing communication from him.
And it was the sorry as well. Like, it wasn't his fault,
No.
but it was like the taking responsibility for us having a good time, or it just kind of breaks my heart to think that was like what he thought was on his shoulders. And I think but it did speak to as well how we just relaxed about the whole expectation of the thing.
It's nice that you say that like you went for something, but you know, actually realize that this was all you need, was that friendship. Like, how do you find that in like big moments in your life as well?
Well, I think it's often the thing where, you know, if you have a dissatisfaction in yourself, or like you feel like you need something or want something, like the getting of the thing is often a bit of a letdown. And then you just have to, like, even as I was writing this, I was reflecting on like other things in my life where that was like, you put so much pressure on attaining the thing or getting to a certain place or feeling a certain way, but you never, then you miss out what's actually around you and what you have so kind of readily available to you in terms of, and like on the theme of this, friendship. It's just like, those are the things that if you can appreciate those, the getting the thing never actually fulfills you or changes you even. And it's like, why do you feel like you need to be changed in the first place?
I love what you say at the end as well, where like you're like, I would have said all of these things, but of course I just said it's fine. That's the moment.
Yeah.
But that's the moment you step in.
I know, but it's what you're speaking to, I think, about like, you know, not being able to, like, people not being vulnerable enough to be able to like reflect back to someone their brilliance or how great they are.
So generally it has to be like after drink, you know, like,
True.
which makes me so sad.
Yeah. It's like that relationship to affection giving is usually in certain
Cloaked in something else, yeah.
And like I like that, I was stifled. I didn't have the equipment to say those things and trust it was as much trust myself to communicate it, even though I felt it all. And like it would have been received so well.
But sometimes actions speak volumes, right?
Yeah.
It's the silent loving. It's
and it's just like what deepens in that is kind of like, we are here together.
That's the joy.
Well,
the joy, though, isn't it, of when a friendship does actually work out? Because I feel like in relationships, like, geez, like, I mean, it's still like a minefield to me because but it feels different because I feel like the contract with a friend when it goes well is just so balanced. Like, you know, like you can fully be like, I don't know. I feel like I just feel so met in. I don't know. There's something
because I think because it's ever changing and evolving. Like
a friendship is tandem, though. I think well, a relationship should be. You should also be moving in tandem together with a partner, but like it's so much more intentional.
Yeah,
getting into a relationship with someone. Whereas a friendship kind of does fall into place naturally most of the time. You can be intentional with your friendships, and I think in London you need to be intentional with your friendships when you meet someone. But there is something a little bit more. I want to say it feels like a relief in a friendship. But that really comes to life in your story, the way you and Danny are able to just use humor as a tool to deal with adversity. And I mean, I think, you know, all four of us in the room are Irish. Like we know that's a very Irish mentality, I think, to be able to see the brightness in the dark situation. But like, I think that is sometimes what solidifies a friendship, is that you can just not take what happens on the day-to-day too seriously and learn to kind of just laugh about it.
Trust the person you know as well. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that's a huge thing. It's like, trust what's been built, not those things that happen, right?
I guess the weed helped in your circumstances.
That unlocked a whole level of laughter.
Well, guys, we're coming towards the end of our discussion, and I think we've explored so many different facets of friendship and spoken quite
we're
holistically
not experts on any of this.
but I'd love to know, like, in a nutshell, like, what is your takeaway on the importance of friendship, each of you?
I mean, I think I said it in my story. Like, when you have a friend like Clara, I really don't want like my other friends to listen to this and be like, what? Because I like adore my friends, but like I really do think there's something special to our friendship where like it's just a miracle. Like, honestly, and I feel it every day as a miracle in my life that like, God, I just literally bawl my eyes out. Like I just feel so lucky to have someone that like holds space for me in the way you do, and like I don't know how to. It's just a gift. Like, fuck me. Like, it makes me so sad that like some people will never have a friend. Like,
Yeah.
because we all need it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, Faoileann. That's beautiful.
I love you. You know I love you.
I love you too. I love you too.
Thank you. I love that. That's,
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I think I marvel at the fact that like being that I could be a friend and that I have like amazing friends, like someone like Faoileann is. It's the kind of stuff you dream of when you're a little kid. Like to have a best friend. And like people say when I'm like my best friend, and I'm like, oh, I'm not young anymore, but it's like it's literally that, and it's like someone that is going to be there through your whole life, like, and I know that, and I don't for a second ever like question that, like the unquestioning sense that someone will love you no matter what. It's just from there you can go anywhere. And from there you can come back from anything, I think. And it's something that I just treasure so much, and treasure and value and take care of as well. So yeah, I think, I don't know, that's what friendship is, the taking care and being taken care of.
That was
I
really
love it. That's
beautifully
beautiful,
put.
yeah.
Yeah, both in
Such.
yeah.
It's a precious thing.
It's
Yeah.
it's actually quite amazing to think, and maybe a lot of people don't think it, if you do have a great friend, that they will be there for the rest of your life. Like, that's such a comforting thing to actually acknowledge.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's like what you were saying earlier, is I think like risk that being true.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Do you have to like believe in that?
Because it's
and-
terrifying too, isn't it? Yeah, it
Yeah.
is scary. But don't be avoided.
Don't be avoiding that. And love with
Lean
courage.
Love with courage. I think that's one of, yeah.
Well, Faoileann Cunningham and Clara Harte, it's been a pleasure to have you
Guys.
two and to talk all about friendship and really share and invite us into that friendship for the past hour as well. I hope you enjoyed it, the experience.
Yeah.
And it's been such an honour to have you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Join us next time to walk in more people's shoes, hear stories around different themes, and have more great discussions. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we look forward to you joining us next time to connect through the power of shared storytelling.